So you've heard about the elusive male G-spot bringing about the most intense full-body orgasms ever, and you're wondering, does it really exist? And if so, how does it work, and can you have access to this life-changing power? To understand the male G-spot, we need to briefly touch on the female G-spot, which is more often talked about. In general, it's considered an erogenous area of the vagina that, when stimulated, can lead to very strong sexual arousal, powerful orgasms, and even potentially female ejaculation. Typically, it's reported to be about 5 to 8 centimeters up the front anterior vaginal wall between the vaginal opening and urethra. But its exact location, and even its existence, to be honest, seems to vary between females, many saying they don't have one at all.
Now, in 2001, the Skene's gland, which is sometimes linked to the female G-spot, was officially recognized as the equivalent, or biologically homologous, to the male prostate. And this is relevant because many people say that the male G-spot is in fact the prostate, so much so that sometimes it is called the P-spot. Now, the prostate is a walnut-shaped gland that helps make semen. The fluid it creates ends up making 30% of your ejaculate, and this fluid helps to nourish and protect the sperm, and it also liquefies coagulated semen after ejaculation. You may have noticed that if you let cum sit for a long period of time, it goes from sort of like gloopy and globby to a more liquefied type of like snotty substance. In the case of heterosexual intercourse, this is so that the semen first sticks to the cervix, and then after liquefying, it can move to the fallopian tubes and fertilize the egg. The prostate is found just below the bladder and at the base of the penis, but it is also located 5 to 8 centimeters inside the butthole. In the prostate stimulation, whether with a finger, a toy, or a dick, is what leads to what many people say are these amazing, enhanced, and absolutely incredible orgasms.
Now, why would this be? Well, the prostate is surrounded by a collection of nerves called the prostatic plexus. These nerves are not only responsible for achieving and maintaining an erection and playing a role in ejaculation, but they also regulate the secretion of that prostatic fluid. Any pressure or stimulation to the area leads to increased blood flow to the penis and can also activate nearby nerves which send feel-good messages through the spinal cord and to the brain. Physical stimulation of this area can also cause the prostate to release some of those fluids out through the penis, which is often referred to as milking. And studies have found that people with prostates report having more pleasure from anal stimulation. However, to be clear, many people without prostates do still find anal stimulation pleasurable.
But the most interesting part is that studies looked into anal stimulation to try and figure out where people felt the most sensation and understand if it was in fact the prostate. And while many people would say the prostate or G-spot, what the scientists realized is that people would refer to different areas entirely when talking about this. In fact, most people thought the prostate was located much deeper in the anus. Even when being shown a diagram of the anal region and asked where felt best, there was a huge variety in spots chosen, not necessarily just the prostate. It turns out that one person's G-spot could be vastly different from another's. This is actually similar to the female G-spot because the actual structure, definition, or location is debated, because when they ask women where they feel the most pleasure, they end up talking about places all over their vaginas, and it is vastly different from person to person.
And the truth is, the anal region has a ton of nerves that can feel pleasurable. For example, the pudendal nerve, which runs through the penis, anus, and surrounding skin, not only controls movement and sensation there, as well as sphincter muscles for urination and defecation, but it also plays a key role in sexual pleasure and arousal by transmitting sensory signals from your genitals to the brain. And studies looking at the brain while stimulating different body parts, from the penis to the testicles to the nipples to the prostate, anus, and more, find that these different parts trigger an area of the brain called the somatosensory cortex. But each different body part maps onto separate or distinct areas of this cortex. So by stimulating more than one, there's likely an additive effect. And this may be why people claim that anal orgasms are so much more powerful than regular ones. Because ultimately you're tapping into more pleasurable areas all at once, really lighting up this pleasure center of the brain.
Now, it's important to know that anal stimulation is not pleasurable for everyone, even though I happen to love it. A lot of that may come down to cultural hang-ups and just feeling generally uncomfortable with the idea of ass play. But even for people who feel no stigma towards it and are willing to try, it's still not for everyone. So you don't have to feel bad if you try it and it doesn't feel great. But some research shows that there is some rewiring of the brain that is usually required for people to fully appreciate the effects of prostate stimulation. As in, it takes some time to learn about your body, associate the new areas and sensations with pleasure, and then lean into that. The heightened awareness from practice and familiarity is what can actually lead you to sort of leaning into these incredible prostate orgasms.
At the end of the day, the truth is, while anal stimulation both inside and outside can be pleasurable for a lot of people with or without a prostate, there doesn't seem to be one universal G-spot in all men. So if you are curious about exploring down there, it's more about listening to your body and finding what feels good and pleasurable for you and going from there. Many spots all over our body can bring us pleasure, so why limit yourself to one idea of what that's supposed to be?
If you want to hear our personal opinions on this topic, as well as some tips and tricks for your first experience, go to our Side Note podcast. You can click here or in the description, or you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. It sounds like I'm really pushing this anal stimulation thing. I swear to God, I'm not. It's just a really interesting research topic. I don't work for Big Anal. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you soon for a new science video. AsapSCIENCE.